Mm.
All right. Axel, Gabe, welcome back. Ming, I know all of you. Trisha,
All right.
I've seen most
Welcome.
of you
Welcome,
before.
everybody. So happy Friday, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Welcome. Welcome to Agencies Talk. This is Digital Marketers weekly talk show where we get the chance to sit down with agency professionals and those who serve agencies to talk about what's going on in their world, what they're passionate about, and the journeys that they've taken to get them to their success. Today, we have Angie Moore. She is the president of 6 Degrees Digital Media and the founder of Outsource Authority. We are really excited to get this chance to talk with her about the secrets of finding the perfect outsourcing partners, establishing effective communication channels, as well as optimizing collaboration for seamless project execution. If you guys are able to, please turn on your cameras. We love to see y'all smiling faces. Have fun and engage in the chat. And if you do have any questions, please put those in the Q&A tool down below, just so we make sure to get those answered for you guys so it doesn't get lost in the chat. And we, of course, have the man, the myth, the legend, president of Digital Marketer, Mark himself here with us. So take it away and let's get this party started.
All right. Welcome, everyone. We didn't mention that Angie is also one of our favorite certified partners here at Digital Marketer. And actually, I was like, oh, I hope she has a listing on the website. And she does. So I'm going to share that now. So you can check out the details. And also, Angie, if you need to update anything, let us know. So it's kind of funny because I think you got on our radar and we're like, we have to have Angie on the show because of a post that you did about outsourcing content. And the most interesting part of that for me was that you use Fiverr to do most of your outsourcing. And I've had very little success on Fiverr. So I'm super interested to hear how the heck you do that. And let's just start there. So how do you outsource on Fiverr?
Well, I love that Cameron said journey because I just had to wear my Indiana Jones hat real quick to kick off the adventure today since Indiana Jones is opening today. And my alter ego is Angie Jones. Like I always use that when I kick off presentations. We were speaking somewhere a couple weeks ago and it's like, I'm Angie Jones, and you may not have the budget of a blockbuster movie, but that doesn't mean your marketing has to be the Temple of Doom.
Boom.
With that was the fun part because Michelle said to have fun. So that was my fun. I'm going to take my hat off. But yeah, so Fiverr. Okay. So when I very first started my agency, it was just me, right? We all start somewhere. And then when I got, I don't know, 3 or 6 clients, I offered my daughter a job. I said, I can't pay you very much. You can live with me and not have to pay anything. And I will even give you a little money, but you will have no bills and no expenses. So she quit her job and she came to work with us, right? So I was able to hand off some work to her. Well, then great. Now we grew some more. And that's like, well, now I'm back to working 16, 80 hours a week again. I can't do this. What do I do? And I had heard somebody mention Fiverr, and Fiverr launched in April of 2010. And I first got on the platform in October of 2010, not knowing what I was doing at all, just like with ChatGPT, didn't know what I was doing there, which is why we took the AI bootcamp. And now, but it's like necessity breeds invention, right? So it's like, okay, how do I use it? And I didn't like it. I'd gone to Elance, and before Upwork was Upwork, it was Odesk, and they combined. I tried that platform. I've tried so many different platforms, including ones that are just for writers. And it's like, man, they don't understand me. What is wrong here? Why don't I get what I'm looking for? And I think within the first 4 orders, I canceled 2 of them. Like some that like a 50, I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my money. I'm gonna go back and do it myself. And I tried working, I had problems with vendors. I had problems with employees, problems with contractors. I'm like, okay, it's gotta be me. I must have an issue here. So let's figure out this. And so I would go back to Fiverr again and I would try something different. And then over the years, because now I've been on there 13 years, over the years, I kept finding something like, oh, What did I do different that made that order come out better? And it just kind of kept evolving from there to the point where it's like, now I get what I want pretty much every time. You know, deliveries are on time. I don't have communication issues. I can find, I think Tico said it, the needle in the outsourcing haystack, because it's like, if you go in and we're looking for a social media manager, there's like 250,000 to choose from or something. It's like, how can you possibly sort through that? Like, you can't. But I've watched Fiverr grow, and I've seen their filters and their features and everything else. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to test this. I'm going to test that. And then I just came up with my own 3-step process that I still use. In fact, I was using it yesterday because I'm looking for something else. And now that I've gotten to the point where I've ordered well over 1,000 times and worked with over 350 freelancers there, like, I have this dialed in. So it's like, if you do anything often enough, you're going to either learn from your mistakes or abandon it if you really can't make it work. But I had to, because we were so busy. And now we have a team of 5, but there's still things that I know my team shouldn't do. It's like, no. If there is somebody that can do that, that's willing to do that for me for $10, yeah. If there's even other things that might take my team longer, or sometimes when we're just too busy and I'm like, I need extra help, it's like, I'm going to go to Fiverr and find someone that can do that. So it was like, it saved us time, it saved us money, and it was a lot of trial and error, but I just finally nailed it. And it was like, my little 3-step process is, now I know how to research properly, because it all starts with that. And I kind of have a 2-phase research step. And then I know how to qualify different. That was a big piece that was like, okay, I kept figuring out more and more layers of this qualification process. And that was key. And then the communication part, it's like, okay, how do I make sure they totally understand me so that I can get what I want? And that will be smooth, right? So now part of that, it kind of all goes into this bucket. So it's like, before I ever even hire somebody, I know they're going to be able to do the job, and I know I'm not going to be able to have problems because I've done the work up front. And I would rather spend an hour making sure that I find the right person, because there's people now that I've worked with on Fiverr for like 10 years, you know? So it's like, yeah, I'm always going to use that person for that specific thing, unless they disappear or something, you know? And then I've gotten feedback from the freelancers too. It's like, oh, if only other buyers could communicate like you, you know? And it's like, yeah, I know. It took me a long time to figure that out though too. I can't hold it against them. It's like, you know, we all have to learn. So but anyway, that's kind of it.
Wow, that was it, except the whole thing felt like a giant tease for your system. So I'm dying. What are the processes? How do you qualify people? How do you, find the good ones? How do you manage communication? What's the system?
So it all starts off with my spreadsheet. And then the filters inside Fiverr. So Fiverr has different categories, and you can get different results. It's almost like a Google search, because they can optimize their profiles too. And then the other thing that you have to understand up front is the seller levels, because there's things that people just don't understand. I mean, I can actually show you a couple things if I have, you want to see it, if I have access to it.
Let me make you a co-host. Oh, you might be a co-host already. You should be good.
Okay, let's see. All right, so let's go in here. So can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah.
Got
okay.
it.
So one of the things that people don't get is, where do you start? Because it is kind of busy when you come here, right? It's like, you can start off here and look in all these things. And if you were to pick one of these, you're going to get a certain set of results. Or you can come in the search bar, and then it's going to give you different results. And then it's like, there's just so many different things. And even if you do click within one of these, like if you were to go to here, it's like, okay, well, now you have even more questions, right? So it's like, where do you really begin? And it really depends on what service you're looking for. So some things are going to take you a little bit longer. Like if you were looking, in fact, I'll share a story that I did with this one lady. So this one client came to me, and bless her heart, she only had $200 to find someone to build out like 10 pages in GrooveFunnels. I'm like, Karen, and she paid me $850 just to help her go find the person. But she knew she was overwhelmed trying to figure this out. And I did. I found a guy. In fact, he did so much more for her for $200. I was even surprised, and it was like perfect. And it's all because he was, overseas. I think he was in Nigeria or something, but, and he was a 5-star seller. He did a great job, and they still work together this day. But so it really depends on what you're looking for and how well you start your search. That's, kind of like Google 101, right? It's like, you can do this. And then sometimes I might be too broad, but if that happens, then I'll go and just use a shorter term until I find kind of what I'm looking for. So if we were looking for, like, someone throw someone out, if you throw
I have a case study for you.
Okay. Throw a gig out for me, a service.
Okay. So I have my son's website is called AmericanBaseballClub.com. Basically, I built out like frameworks for how to do certain types of content. All it is, like for the drills section, if you look at it, is you have to find a video on YouTube. You have to convert the description into the brand voice of the current brand, and then you just have to insert a post. And so that's something I need done for like.
So you want someone to transcribe
posts.
The video first?
No, actually just taking the video description and rewriting it in the brand voice, which you can use ChatGPT for, but I just need somebody to enter in the posts. So it's basically data entry for WordPress.
Oh, data entry for WordPress. Okay. So that would probably be a VA could help you with that. But since you want someone to understand brand voice, I'd probably look at writers instead. So it would be, and this is going to be one of those examples where it might be too long, but like here's one right here, right? But so we wouldn't start here because there's 27,000 services. Like, I'm not going to sort through that. That's just way too many. But when you start looking at these filters up here, here's how you start narrowing it down. So sometimes this is relevant and sometimes it isn't. So you can go through based on the gig that you're looking for and see if one of these is appropriate. I don't usually use that, but every now and then I do. So seller details is where I always start, because people don't understand this. And why would you? There's no place that speaks to what this is. It's like, how would I know? And well, because there's a link somewhere buried deep in Fiverr that tells you what the seller levels are. So a top rated seller is top rated, right? And then level 2 is next, level 1 next, and then new sellers. Well, I'm obviously going to start with the top rated sellers. Like that's where I'm going to go. And then the other part that people don't consider is the language. So I definitely want someone that speaks English, but that doesn't mean they live in the United States. So if somebody has good enough English skills, I don't care if they're in another country, because it's going to be cheaper for me. Now, if you want someone that lives in the United States, and here's a fun fact, you can even pick English and lives in the United States. I reached out to somebody like that, and they were still transplanted from another country. So you don't really you can't verify that until you start speaking with them. And I could tell during our communication, it's like, no, you don't have the English skills I'm looking for. But it depends on what the service is. If it's writing, yeah, you got to be this. If it's, I want you to promote some videos, I don't care what language you speak, because I'm giving you everything to copy and paste. So I usually pick speaks English, and then that's it. That's where I'll start. And I'll click here. And then the other one that people don't know is what pro services are. So pro are the vetted services from Fiverr. So they have to have taken tests and pass all these tests in to be what's considered pro. So if you want the cream of the crop, you would go to pro services. That doesn't change their seller level though. So that's the other weird thing. It doesn't change anything here. You could be a new seller and still be pro. So that's where it gets a little confusing too. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. You're pro, but you're only level 1. What does that mean? Well, it just means I took the test so I can charge more money. And I have had good luck and bad luck with pro services. So that it's not always at the top of my list to pick that. I'll look through this first. And then the next thing I do, as soon as I have my list, so even though 426 is still too many, still not going to look through 426. The highest star rating you can get is 5.0. So what I look from here is I'll just do a quick review and see how many are 5.0 that have the most reviews possible. Like there's one. Well, this isn't appropriate for what we're looking for, but we would probably have to do another search because this didn't translate into what we were looking for. So I'll change that in a second. But just to give you an overview of how I look through this, it's like, okay, I'm going to look at you. If this was the appropriate type of gig, I would look at you. And I just scroll down through here and I find as many 5.0s with as many, I'd like to find over 1,000, but if I can't find over 1,000, I'll look as many as I can. And these are all top rated because that's what we already chose. Fiverr also has a Fiverr's Choice, and I'll almost always look at that one. And I've actually met him, worked with him, so I know who he is. I know he's a good guy. He's actually in South America. Worked with her too. But so that's the first thing I'm looking for, is because I want to see how many orders they have. And then if I was going to compare apples to apples, what I do with this is the other thing that people don't look at. Like I'll try to get 10 on my short list. And then from that 10, I put them on this spreadsheet so I can start comparing apples to apples. And I look at cost. I look at what's included in the gig. I look at their reviews. And I look at how many orders they have. But I take it a step further, because if somebody's too busy and they are not going to deliver on time, I don't like that. So we can come in here and go look at their reviews. And one thing that people tend to look at are the good reviews. I always look to see if somebody has a negative review. I want to see the 1 and 2 star reviews. That's what I want to look at, because the more 1 and 2 star reviews you have, that's what tells me the problems. The review from yesterday. Oh yeah, there was one we saw yesterday. I was looking for someone, and this guy is like, they put us on an adult website and gambling. And it's like, okay, I'm glad I saw that, because that's not somebody I want to work with, you know? So it's like, and if I see things like seller failed to deliver on time, that's it for me. Like, I'm not going to work with you unless something like that was 10 years old and they've had so many more since then. But if I see 2 of those, it's like, you are not qualified to work with me. I'm sorry, next. And that's why it's so important to look at the negative reviews, even more so than the positive reviews, right? So that's just part of it. And then a lot of people make assumptions. This happens for all of us in marketing. We've all had clients that ask for something that's outside the scope of work all the time, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'm happy to do that for you, but that's going to cost extra. It's happened to all of us. And sometimes we'll go ahead and do it. And sometimes we go, no, I got to charge you for that. You don't realize how much time that is involved, because they don't know. Someone thinks it's a 5-minute thing. It's like, no, it's 2 hours, buddy. So you have to look at what this is, in essence, their scope of work, right? So if you don't see it included in here, don't assume that it is. And if you want it included, ask them to send you a custom offer. But that's why they have these different packages here, right? So look at the one that's most appropriate for what you need and then choose that one. And I'll even go like this. I'll go, let's say I picked the basic, and I'm not really going to hire right now, but I'm going to go here. If I was going to do this, just to see, because you can see what their add-ons are on the next page. Okay, this one doesn't have any add-ons. Usually they will show what it is. It's like, oh, well, if you want this, it's going to cost that, you know, otherwise it's in here. So you have to be able to compare apples to apples. And so like the little spreadsheet that I use, once I get people up here, like I'll look at their rating. I look at the cost. I look at how long it's going to take them. I look at the location, and I pick the specific scope of work from that thing. And now I have this snapshot. Like, these are the people that made my short list, right? But you can't remember what everybody's going to offer. You can't remember the cost of all of them. So how are you going to look at that? So I'm like, okay, well, let me look at it like this. And, you know, I've done this for all these different categories when I look for people, right? So it's like, okay, how much are you going to charge? How long is this going to take? And I base my assessment on that. And then I narrow it down to the top ones, right? So once you have this short list, then the next piece is to outreach to them. And I always notate when I outreach to someone, because everybody gets 48 hours to write me back. That's it. And I have very specific scripts that I use. And this is the piece that a lot of people miss, is when you do your outreach, when you first contact them and ask them what you're looking for, I'm gonna put a thing in here, always ask 2 questions, no matter what. It doesn't even matter what they are. Ask 2 questions. And this is where it's going to save you time in the long run, because what happens is I've had so many people go, yeah, I can do the job, hire me. Like, no, buddy, you didn't look at my questions. It's like, give me answers to my questions, because that way I know that you paid attention. If you answered the question, but you didn't answer it appropriately, I can tell you didn't pay attention to the detail, and we're going to have a communication problem down the road. So they have to answer my questions appropriately, and they have to give me a response within 48 hours. Otherwise, that's a clear sign that we're going to have a problem down the road. So they get disqualified from that. And then
actually, Gabe has was just asking what some example questions would be.
So I'll say, do you have experience with this industry? I'll say, how long have you been doing this? And if it's something platform specific, it's like, do you have experience with GrooveFunnels? Do you have experience? Is it Facebook or Instagram? How long have you been doing that? And one of the things that Fiverr added recently that's really cool is now they show you among my clients. So this is kind of cool. So I'll look at this little thing here, and they've got this in a couple of different places. And sometimes you'll recognize the brands here, but even if you don't recognize the brand name, they'll tell you the industry that it was in. So I look for people that will match the industry that I'm looking for, right? So it's like, okay, they've got that, and it's, in something that I don't work with any jewelry companies, but if I did, I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I'll look at that too. But even if I see that, I don't care. I'm still going to ask them, do you have experience in this industry? Here's what I'm looking for specifically. So I tell them what I'm looking for. I'm like, can you do this? How long will it take you? Even though they've got this in here. And sometimes I'll say, I see you've got a lot of orders. Are you still taking orders right now? Because one mistake that people make is this isn't the only gig they have, right? You can click into their actual profile. This is the other part of qualifying them. So I look at all the different gigs they have, because if one person is saying they can do something and all their other gigs are completely unrelated to that, it's like, oh, you just put that up to make extra money. So I want to make sure on their gig page, it's sort of niche specific to the category that I'm looking for. And I'll give them a little leeway, it's like, no, you're a developer, but now you're telling me you're going to write for me. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. But, and then again, you can look down here. The other piece of this that's so cool is they get a skills section, and you can put like 10 things or so in here. So if they're telling me they're proficient at this one thing, but they didn't list it as one of their top skills, that tells me that that's not their top skill. So I look in here to make sure that what they're telling me they can do well is also listed within their top skills, right? And if it's not, then I'll usually pass on there too. And then again, going back to those reviews, you can look at reviews that are only related to the gig that you want, or you can come to their profile page and you can see all their reviews, right? So if there's still a bunch of negative reviews, even if it's related to another gig, then this guy, it's pretty bad, but it is 4 years ago. So, and there wasn't a lot here. So I don't know, I might give the guy a pass on this. 4 years ago, he wasn't very specific. There might've been, I can always tell too, you probably didn't communicate well enough what you needed, and you guys had an issue. So I'll keep that in mind. I also look at how long they've been on Fiverr. I look at how long they reply and when their last delivery was. And then I love seeing this, that people keep coming back. So if you find people like this, and I look for that in the reviews too. It's like people that I order from over and over again, when I I'll leave reviews for them multiple times. The other thing that I look for is reviews that are in my country. So I'm in the United States. So one of the things that I'm looking for is making sure the communication process goes smoothly. So I look for people who have left reviews that are from the United States. And if the only people that are leaving reviews are from different countries, that doesn't really tell me much unless it's another English speaking country. But look at this. This was all from the US, right? And people are leaving them 5 stars. So, and I'll read a lot of these. And then this one didn't have any negative. So that one, if I was looking for this type of gig, he would probably make my short list. Did that? I know it was kind of a long answer, Gabe, but that's kind of, like I said, there's kind of a lot to it. The more you can go in, and we looked at that in like 5 minutes. So it's like just these little things will help you figure out if it's a good person to work with,
No, that was fantastic. And it sounds like a lot, but really, like you said, you did it in 5 minutes, and you should be able to actually at every stage of that process, eliminate people who don't fit. Yeah. I also like how you kind of opened up new tabs. That way it made it easier to kind of assess and get that list. So when you first make a list of like, okay, I have a gig, here's so many people who meet the basic parameters, how many do you go into that kind of in-depth review for just any given project?
So it depends on what I'm looking for. The more technical it is, or like if it's a simple thing, like I wanted somebody to convert a PDF, because when I did it, it got all wonky, and I wasn't going to spend the hour that it was going to take me to clean that up. So I just needed somebody that could convert a PDF and make it look good. Like something like that, I knew was going to be a pretty short job. And the guy that I found, like, he actually did it for me before I even ordered. He goes, oh yeah, I can do it for you. It'll take me 5 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, great. Now I'll go ahead and order from you. Like I get, just because they see my profile, I get people that'll do that for me sometimes, but I'm still going to pay them. But what is your story? Oh yeah, I've got like over 300 5-star reviews as a buyer. So they know that I'm a good person to work with, and that I know how to work with the freelancers there. But so yeah, I try to make a list of 10, and sometimes I'll do more. And then once I look at this, that's where I say, okay, who's got this? Like, this is all really different because this was SEO. Like if I was looking for someone if I was looking for someone to do social media ads, like this is setup and management, this is ad copy. It's like, what's what? And sometimes you'll find some and then they'll be on hold, and it's like, all right. So it depends on what the service is. The more money I'm going to spend, the more time I'm going to spend trying to find the right person. The smaller amount, the smaller the task, I might not spend as much money. I had a client who needed some podcast stuff. It's like, okay, look, any of these people are great. Gosh, this one's going to do 45 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And they were all pretty much in the same cost. They all felt the same. Like this one was 5 days, but all the rest of these guys are going to do it in 2 days for the same amount. Well, why would I not do that? Yeah, I'll do the 2 days and the $20. You got 5 stars and 369. You got, so I'm going to do that. But I always like having a backup. So the other important part is test if you can. Test a small thing. And it doesn't matter. Like even if it was writing or like a VO, like when I would hire voiceover people, I would say, I don't want you to do the whole thing. Do like 50 words. I just need I need to see I need to hear you. Right. And then from there, I would order, like people would do it for me for $5, right? It's like, okay, great. And then I would hire the person that I wanted based on that. So the more you can test people with a small gig, even if it's not something that they have on their gig page, don't be afraid to say, hey, I want to do a test. Can we do this? And then, I'll let them know I'm going to test like 4 people. And the winner's going to get all my work.
Actually, that was my next question, which was, if you do have, say, a bigger form project where you need some ongoing work, is that kind of your average as you test for people for the small project first, and then you hire the one for the big project?
Yeah. If I can find 4 that I like, sometimes I've got 2 and I'm like, man, I really like you too. Before Tico came back to work with me and before, ChatGPT days and all that, a few years ago, it's like, man, I need someone to help me with some blog posts. I don't have time to write all these. And I had a great writer, but he got so busy that he wasn't available anymore. And one of the things I'll do is I'll give new sellers a chance because I know they need to build up their profile and they're hungry to get orders in. And if that profile page looks good, like if they say all these things that they've done, right? I'm like, okay, you clearly know. And based on our communication, I'm like, yeah, this is good. I'm going to give you a chance. If somebody wants to write me 1,000-word blog post for $25 so that they can build up their Fiverr profile, I'm going to take it, instead of spending $200, especially if you're low on funds, right? Or it's like, so it really depends, but you do have to spend a little bit more work when you're looking for the new sellers. But I like giving people a chance sometimes too. I got the New York Times, when Fiverr was doing a thing, I gave a guy his first gig, a voiceover guy, and I hired him several times to the point where he became a top-rated seller in Fiverr. And they interviewed him, and it was so like humbling. Like he accredited part of his success to me because I gave him his start. And so
that's awesome.
The PR company called me and say, hey, can we ask you something? Like, yeah, I'm happy to be featured in that. And that was in 2011, but it's like, it's good to do good deeds. Right. So,
that's awesome. Now, last question before I open it up to everybody else. When you do find somebody awesome, like the copywriter that you just mentioned, what do you ever try to get them off the platform so you could maybe spend less money, or do you stay on the platform all the time?
That's against Fiverr's terms of service, and it would get your account banned. So the reason that I stay on Fiverr is because there's more protection for you. So if something doesn't go well, so when an order comes through, I don't think I have any orders that like this one's in progress. Like I use a lot of different people to promote YouTube videos for me. Because it's not buying views. It's like they share it on their social media profiles and niche specific places, right? So, but if I didn't like something, I could say, you can reject it. Like they don't get paid, like that money gets held in escrow, right? And you can reject or ask for revisions. And if they don't do a good job, I'm going to ask for a revision again. Now, if it's a big writing thing, you can expect that. But if it's something that I think someone's going to do, they should get it right the first time around, then you reject it and the money just goes back into your account. If you take somebody off the platform, you don't have any protection that way. I had a guy, I was trying to generate a list of small businesses in Phoenix for a client. And this guy told me and I was looking for something very specific. And this guy's gig looked like he could do it, blah, blah, blah. And then when he sent it to me, businesses that were on there were like Radio Shack and Blockbuster that have been out of business for, I don't even know how long. And this was like 2 years ago. And I'm like, buddy, you told me you could get 11,000 or whatever it was. And this is what you send me. It's $7. It was only $25. And everything else looked really good. And I'm like, no, I'm not paying you for this. And he kept telling me he just kept sending the same work back. I'm like, no. And I just contacted customer service. I showed him a snapshot of our communication before I hired him and what he said he could do. And they gave me my money back. And he was actually kind of rude, but it's just the protection that you get. It's like, why would you want to, because you'd be able to keep that money and use it on a different gig. That's why I always have a backup. That's why I do that list. If the first one didn't work out, you don't even have to do all that research again. It's right there. It's like, go to the next one. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So actually, let me have a question from Ming. He says, have you got played out by a Fiverr freelancer, which I think you just described? How did you solve it and mitigate your risk of reputation loss? I think you just answered this though.
So I'll never hire.
Contact customer service.
I won't hire for a client to do something that I'm going to deliver to a client unless I already know that it's good. Like you don't want to do that, like, because that could hurt you. There's which guy?
Not on Fiverr, but the guy that was recommended for the website name that ended up costing $4,000.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay. Yeah, because that can happen even off Fiverr, right? We've all probably had referrals from friends And this happened to me where, oh, this vendor is so good, blah, blah, blah. You can help you with SEO. And it's like, well, then, all right, now this guy's doing black hat tactics, and it got my client's site banned from the internet. You know, this was like 10 years ago, but it's like, man, you know, that's why I like having, and I'd already paid him. He wasn't going to give me my money back, but here you have all that protection. That's why the qualification process goes so well. I had one, I'm like, I'm looking for keyword research for a company that does custom engraved tile, not floor tiling, not bathroom tiling, like donor wall type of tiles. And I picked this lady, we had a conversation. I go, do you understand? And she's like, yes. She even reiterated back to me, I understand you don't want this, 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 or this. What does she send me back? A list that included bathroom tile. I said, hey, I pointed her back to the conversation. Remember, we said we didn't want this. And so I told her, I said, cancel this, because that irritated me. I'm like, cancel it. She goes, no, let me redo it. I go, no, cancel, because you told me you understood and you didn't. Either cancel it. If I run it again, I'm going to leave you a bad review, you know? And so she did. She canceled it and I got my money back, you know. Well, it goes in your Fiverr account, but, and you can, you know, just use that on another gig. But yeah, so I always try to protect myself. Proper research, proper communication, small tests first. And then if that's going smoothly, like I said, there's like people that I've worked with for years on here. So
that's awesome. Now, have you found that certain categories you find more people or better people than other categories? Because I know some, you know, abstract, like, oh, hey, I need a banner ad design. That could get really specific to a certain style versus I need some copywriting or I need something more.
Yeah, they're getting better and better with how they do that. So if you were looking for a banner, I'm just put banner design. What they do now is they'll start asking you questions, and that's why I'll look at their portfolios and things too. But I don't even know how. I know there's well over 1 million freelancers on here, so you're gonna find. You know,
sorry, let me rephrase the question. Just for you specifically, what are the top 5 categories that you use Fiverr for?
So the top 5, well, a guy that I really like right now is when they came out with Core Web Vitals, when Google came out with Core Web Vitals, and all of our sites are trying to get into that 90% in the green, right? And I would have my developers like, okay, how long is it going to take us to do this? I'm like, this is taking too long. I'm going to go to Fiverr and find someone. And I found a guy who's going to get us over 90% for $75. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use you every single time. Like, I'm not going to have my team waste time going through all these issues when you're going to do it for $75. You know, so that was one. So for certain technical things, you can find wickedly, you know, talented people for any kind of technical programming. I have a full-time web developer that's been with me for 12 years, but I'll still come on here for other kind of things, you know, or if it's something that I don't want to waste our time, like, how do I do this in GrooveFunnels? Do we want to spend the time doing this? This guy knows how to do it and it's going to cost me $20. Yeah, I'm going to hire that guy. I've used a lot of people for, to set up Conversion API with Facebook. That was something I didn't even want to tackle. So I've got a really good person for that now. So it's like, okay, now I'm going to hire that guy all the time. Same thing if I want someone to set up Facebook ads for me, even though, yeah, I can do it, that's going to take me several hours, or this guy's going to charge me a couple $100. That's a good effective use of my time to let this guy do it instead. And I've got several people that I use for that.
So it's more of the kind of like a case by case, like, let me evaluate, like I could work on
what
this.
What do I need and what do my clients need? You know, I've used a lot of writers. I've tested a lot of different people only because when I put my outsourced playbook program together, I do a sheet like this in that program for even things that I don't need. Like, this is my personal file. But for things that I don't need, like I had a client that needed help setting up MailChimp. And that's like, all right, well, here, use this guy, you know, or someone, My favorite one was a guy that needed help with, he wanted somebody that had experience writing, that had experience with SAP and recruiting. And I'm like, okay, he needed a marketing person, a writer, and then something else.
Wasn't it also like Russian?
No. And then on top of that, it was like, I found him a US American team. He goes, now I need somebody that can do it in German. And I found him. Like, yep, this guy has experience with recruiting. He knows SAP and he speaks fluent German. He's actually in Germany, so I was like, you can find things that you just would not expect to find as long as you know how to search properly.
That's awesome. Have you had any experience scaling a project? Like, let's say we have like the GA4 update is coming out tomorrow. If you find a good person who did the update for one of your clients, do you say, hey, could you do it for 50 clients? And how does that the cost do?
That was the same thing that I did with the guy that the Core Web Vitals, same exact thing. So it was, okay, let's start with me. In fact, first I picked a guy and it didn't work out. And he broke my site. He broke a site. Well, I shouldn't say it broke, but it didn't go well. It's like, okay, something's wrong here. And he had to fix it. And I'm like, okay, I might give him a pass one time. And he was a new seller. But I could tell he knew what he was doing, but at the same time, okay, maybe he didn't. So I had already had a backup because I had already had it narrowed down to my top 2. So I went to the other guy and I said, okay, let me test you. He got it done faster. It was a little more expensive, but I didn't mind because everything was seamless. I'm like, okay, I ended up giving him like 7 or 8 sites, and every project went well. One had a problem, but they kept working at it until they figured it out and fixed it, so.
Did you negotiate the price for like a bulk or?
Yeah, a lot of them will do that. I have people give me discounts all the time, and there's 2 ways to get discounts. One is they'll send you a custom offer, and the other is you can ask for a custom offer, or a lot of times they'll say, hey, since you're a new seller, I'm going to go ahead and give you a discount. And then the other one is they started this thing called subscribe and save, where if you're going to order over and over again. I've never used that because I just don't want to have that commitment because you have to go remember all the time. It doesn't charge you or anything, but I just don't use that particular feature. But yeah, when I order, I have people all the time say, oh yeah, I'm going to and then you'll just get offers pop up in your inbox. Hey, if you ever want to order from me again, here's a 10% discount. I'm like, okay.
Ooh,
that's so
awesome.
That's pretty common. You can always, everything's negotiable.
Yes. And that's actually really important to remember because, especially in other cultures, if you are going to other countries, like they almost expect it like, oh, well, you just went with my offer. That's weird. And they'll be happy, but you can't always negotiate. Trisha actually had a good comment. She said, you may find you get even better work when the promise of more work is on the horizon. Do you start the relationship like that? Like, hey, I need this one site done, but I have another 10 sites that are going to need it if this works out.
Exactly. I had a guy, so I needed an ebook cover. We're writing all these ebooks. Well, that's probably 10 years ago. And we just didn't have the time. My team was too busy. I'm like, I'm going to go to Fiverr. They're going to do this for $5 or $10, man. Why would I, And so I narrowed my search down. I reached out to these 4 people. I said, look, I'd like each one of you to do a test. This does not have to be the final. It doesn't. I just need to see how our communication is going to go. And I need to see, kind of the style that you're going to give me. Well, so all 4 did it. I hired each one for like $5. And I told them, I said, I've got 7 that I need. So the winner is going to get all 7. Plus I'm actually going to order from you again. So this test order doesn't even count in the 7. And I found somebody who was great and he got all 7. And, if I ever did need something like that again, I would go to him, Same like my PowerPoint template person. It's like, I want a custom PowerPoint template. I'm not going to spend the time doing that. This person's going to do it for $20. I'm like, yeah. So every time I want a new PowerPoint template that's for us, I go to that person. So
that makes sense. So you kind of do case by case basis. And then once they're kind of qualified, okay, we've done good work for you. Then do you just have a spreadsheet of like, these are the good Fivers for specific categories?
So I should have showed you that. One of the other things that you can do in Fiverr is create lists. So what you do is up here, this little heart is your lists. So what I do is I'll stick people in here. These aren't necessarily people that I've worked with. Sometimes it is. And then I'll have my team, right? So I've got people in here that it's like, okay, these are people that I am going to go back to all the time, or I'll find them in my order. So you can segment this. You can make as many lists as you want to, and just put people in here. And that way, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, I just go back to here and I can find whoever. Like this was one of my favorite writers, and they go on vacation. They have to put their services on hold because they get too busy. He's been unavailable for like a couple of years now, but yeah. But Kiko does my writing now, so she's really good, and she's in Greece. Like she's amazing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these people are like people. If you want to list run for, this web scraping guy, he was cool. I needed this website scraped for this data, and I reached out to a bunch of people. This guy did it for me even before I hired him. He's like, here you go. Just, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll go order the thing now. And everybody else was communicating with me, and this guy was done before everybody else even finished, you know,
That's
the other ones
awesome.
before they even reached out back. Oh yeah, keyword research or competitive analysis. This guy's amazing. So, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great tool too for them to do. Oh, well, it's funny because I'm
having to buy expensive software. I don't want to pay monthly for software that I'm not going to get my ROI out of it. So I'll find somebody else who has that software, and then I'll say, okay, go run this for me. You're going to do it for me for $10. This costs me $100 a month. Forget it. No, I'm not going to use it that often. You do it for me, Spencer. And the always gives me extra.
That's a great use of that, because yeah, sometimes we're like, well, I could just sign up for this for a month, and then you totally space on that and end up finding it like 3 years later. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm still paying $10 a month for the same thing. Now between this, because I use Upwork a lot, what would you say is the difference, and why is Fiverr better for the situations you use it in versus Upwork?
So when I had been using Upwork before, I had more of a challenge with the freelancers, and it also like with Fiverr, you get 3 days to approve once someone has delivered. I think you get a little bit more if you're in Fiverr Business, which we didn't talk about. That's a different thing, but some perks, some things. I don't really like the interface of Fiverr Business, so I stay in the Fiverr Marketplace, but I think you'll get 7 days instead. With Upwork, you put these funds in, and then you don't have as much wiggle room when someone delivers something if it's an escrow. And I've literally had this happen where the funds got released because we had these milestones set up, but it's like, no, you didn't do this right, And then she's like, oh, well, I'll do some other work for you for free. And I'm like, well, but that's not what I was really looking for. I really needed this, So I don't like the way that you also have to put in a project brief before you can ever communicate with someone. Like that is, I don't like that at all. I also found a lot more people on Upwork that would try to get me to hire them off of Upwork. That doesn't happen on Fiverr too much, because that's also against Upwork's terms of service. So I always stay within the term of service of the platform. I think that's respectful, and it offers protections on both sides. But, and then
that's actually a really good point, because on Upwork, I have actually just how they charge you too, where you look at like, what did I get charged? Like, what was this for? And it'll be like some weird fees and So is Fiverr a little bit more obvious?
Yeah, Fiverr is so much more user-friendly from an interface standpoint. Those lists that I showed you, all you can do in Upwork is favorite someone and put a note in. So you can't put them in a specific category, Now, I will say that I do like that it shows how many projects they have going on, but there's certain things you can't see, because with Upwork, it's like if you hire them based on project instead of hours, which is the way I always like to hire people. I don't like to do it per hour, but then you can't see how many their hours. They like you to hire them hourly because it goes in their profile as opposed to project-based. In fact, so the CEO and founder of Fiverr is Misha Kaufman. And his thing was, the whole reason he started Fiverr, which is what he told me, was that he didn't like the problems with the other interfaces of these other platforms. Necessity breeds invention, right? So he ended up creating Fiverr. But which, yay, we had some of the same, headaches. And I'm like, yeah, I have a problem with that. I really don't like that. I don't like the way that it takes me, like putting together a project brief just to invite someone to a job. No, I want to be able to just reach out to someone and ask them a question before I spend all that time and do that. That's, takes up a lot of my time just to do that alone.
No, that's a great point. Well, and even that hourly thing, because I've done that too. And then it'll be like, you think the project's done, and then you just keep on getting charges for the hourly from people you
I don't
forgot about.
That's the thing that's so nice about Fiverr is it's like, here's the gig cost. And yeah, you can always negotiate, but it's like, I don't know you. I'm not going to pay you for 5 hours when it might be able to get done. And I don't know you. I don't trust you enough yet. And then Upwork, they all want that. And then I have people that when I'm done and, oh, please don't leave me. I tell them like, this was terrible. Oh, please don't leave me a bad review. This is my livelihood. I have children to feed. And it's like, nobody says that to me on Fiverr.
No, well, I think it's that
I've hired on Upwork since 2016. I've only dealt with 43 freelancers there and ordered 128 times versus over 1,350 on Fiverr. It's just way easier.
That's a really good point. Well, and I think it's funny because I kind of ran off Fiverr because I tried it too back in like 2013 or something. I was like, this is not what I thought it was. And then I just gave up, and then I found Upwork. But actually, even more recently, I think Upwork's been really pushing people towards hourly because it's probably they get more transaction fees. So they want you to do hourly. So all the questions lead you to almost accidentally hire somebody hourly versus the gig, which is, hey, I have $40. Can you do this thing for me? Here's the $40. Give me my thing. We're all done. Thank you. So you actually really turned around my whole view of Fiverr. So thank you for that.
Well, I have to look. You'll have to send me that blurb about your son, because I'll go find that and I'll go find you someone.
Oh yeah, if you could do that,
and I'll record and I'll put that out step by step so I can show you, because I know I would have spent more time on that. And
you all do. I'll actually record a video saying, here's exactly what I need done. And all I want to do is send them a list of YouTube videos. And then I want all of those converted into posts. And so I'll send you that. And then if you could record how you find the person, then we could post that to the group and everybody.
Yeah, because they'll transcribe it. See, that might be 2 people, because you don't need, just the description in the YouTube video.
Yeah, you basically just copy and paste the description, rewrite it for excited baseball announcer.
I know exactly what to look for that. Okay. Yeah. I think I misunderstood the first time, but yeah. So
it's really simple. And I'm like, I've been meaning to do it because I'm like, oh, I could have like the biggest database of baseball drills ever. And it's like no work. So that's great.
That's
so easy. I'll say
there's probably people that'll do that for you for, $5. And if you say, how many videos?
I don't know. I could send like 50 and then, make a bulk project, or I could do what you say, which is test a few people. I mean, it's such a simple project though, that I'd be like, who can't do this?
I would still test 2 and see who does the better job, because
you're probably right. I would skip that stuff.
That's the thing. Brand voice is, you're going to have to give them specifics about what that brand voice is.
Yeah, well, it's actually, you just go to ChatGPT and you say, rewrite this as an excited baseball announcer. I broke down the entire brand voice into 3 words, and it's totally worked. And now I'm telling people, like, for your styling, like, you should be able to describe it in like 3 to 10 words. And if you can't, then the styling is probably too complicated and hard.
I like that. Excited baseball announcer.
It's pretty goofy. It's like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Can you send me the YouTube channel?
Yes. Actually, I'll send you the website. It's just AmericanBaseballClub.com. There you go. Bob Ucker. There you go. Well, thank you so much, Angie. This has been fantastic. And I will follow up with you, and we'll just use this project as kind of like a case study to show, kind of your methodology. And then we'll put that into the Certified Partner Facebook group for everybody to see. So if you're not a Certified Partner, you can't see it. So join Certified Partner. That's the lesson there. Where can people learn more about you and what you do?
So they could still use my regular email address, which is Angela@6degreesdigitalmedia.com, because that's our, kind of our certified partner side. And then if they wanted to get more information on the Outsource Authority, that's the outsourceauthority.com. I can plug that.
Fantastic.
See, I think I have it up. So
here, we'll put that.
I'll put this in the chat real quick.
Yeah, if you could.
Oh, Tico's
that's fantastic. This has been great, Angie. And we really appreciate you being part of the Certified Partner community, attending all the boot camps, like the AI boot camp, which we just wrapped up. I am going to post the tutorial, I promised, later today. So look for that.
Was so good. Like loved it. Loved every minute of that. I'm going to go rewatch everything again. So
that's awesome. Well, we'll keep on developing it. You know, like I said, you know, I'm like, AI keeps changing. We can't even make a cert about this because it's just all over the place at this point. But I think, you know, your dedication to learning the new stuff is fantastic. And the fact that you have such a system for Fiverr is super impressive. Like, you totally changed my mind about Fiverr. Like, I will totally try it now. So thank you for that. Appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here to join us. So join us next time. Cameron, you wouldn't happen to know who we have last time. What was it? Angie
out. Angie out.
Angie. There you go. And go watch that movie. I was just, we were talking about it before we started the show about the crystal skull. I'm like, does it look like the crystal skull? Because that wasn't very good. And I don't know about this new one.
But it's going to be the last Indiana Jones. You know, it's the last Harrison Ford.
That's what they say until they're like, wait, money. And then they come out with another one. But thank you so much. Thank you all. And then Cameron, I don't know, do we have the guest for next week? Do you know who that is?
I do. It's going to be Monique Morrison.
Oh, Monique. Yeah, Monique always has good stuff. So tune in next time. Don't take the whole 4th of July week off. Just work on Friday and come to the show. That's what your goal is next week. Thank you all. Appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
All right, Rudy.